Hello and welcome to Channel 1 Local. I'm your host, Brian Christopher, and I want to thank you for being here with me today. What we're about to speak about in this episode and learn is some new breaking news. This just come out today, December the 11th of 2025, and it involves the CFTC and how they just changed the game. I'll give you a definition of who and what the CFTC is real quick for those who do not know. It stands for Commodity Futures Trading Commission, an independent U.S. government agency that regulates the American derivatives market, including futures, options, and swaps, to protect market users from fraud, manipulation, and abusive practices while ensuring an open, competitive, and financially sound market. It oversees trading, registers brokers, investigates fraud, and enforces regulations for these complex financial products. So that's just a little definition and overview of who and what the CFTC is. But they have come out with this news today that they are putting together a 12-member CEO Innovation Committee. And it includes CEOs from the CME Group, NASDAQ, Kraken, Gemini, Crypto.com, and two prediction market platforms that were literally under regulatory scrutiny months ago. This is not just business as usual. This is the regulator inviting the disruptors to help write rules. So let's break down what's happening and why it matters. First off, I want to give a little small disclaimer before we go any further. I touched upon this in an intro video or podcast episode that I put out a few days back, and I want to touch on it again. This is not a financial channel. We're not a financial podcast. We do not speak to financial advice. I'm not an advisor, and if anyone who ever is hosting along on this show is to speak in terms of finances, if they are a financial advisor themselves, it will be disclosed, and a disclaimer there with them as well that they are not giving our listeners, you, the listener, financial advice. So I want to make that clear and put that on the table. Yes, we will be speaking about finances, money, banking, and how it all ties into the new digital landscape that's advancing with technology, because it's all critical to one another. But we are not a channel or podcast that is focused on giving or perpetuating any financial advice. So I just want to put that out there for people to understand and for it to be very clear. So now let's go back into this topic that is breaking for today. So the announcement comes from the CFTC acting chair, Caroline Pham, who announced this CEO Innovation Committee. And it's under the Digital Asset Markets Advisory Committee. Yeah, that's all a mouthful, but we're going to look who's on this and who's involved in it. There's three groups: traditional finance giants, Terry Duffy, the CEO of the CME Group, Adena Friedman, the CEO of NASDAQ, and these represent the establishment, centuries-old regulated markets, and the backbone of traditional finance. Crypto-native platforms such as the CEO of Kraken, Gemini, and Crypto.com. These are operations that run 24/7 as exchanges and perpetuate contracts that are perpetual contracts and is the entire new financial infrastructure. And the two predictive markets that are participating is Polymarket and Kalshi Founders. And this is a shocking part because these platforms were operating in regulatory gray areas and some even faced enforcement actions. Now they're sitting at the regulatory drafting table. So what this composition means, it's a deliberate balance. This isn't a crypto circle echo chamber, and it isn't a Wall Street old guard preservation society. This is a carefully designed collision of worldviews. The CFTC isn't trying to kill innovation, they're trying to understand it, integrate it, and regulate it properly. The old model that we faced was regulators would build walls, industries find loopholes, and then regulators build higher walls, and then that cycle repeated. But this new model is to bring many players to the table before writing the rules, make them part of the solution. So why is this happening? Because there's pressure points. The U.S. had been falling behind. Regulatory uncertainty has pushed crypto innovation and capital offshore. But with this new administration, the U.S. is now pulling into the race and is trying to take a huge stronghold as a leader in this race. The SEC and the CFTC keep fighting over who regulates what. Bitcoin is a commodity. Ethereum is maybe a security, maybe not. Who knows? And the congressional action is coming. Multiple bipartisan proposals want to expand the CFTC's authority over digital assets on spot markets. This committee is the CFTC's warming up for those new powers. The 6 topics they're tackling. The committee has 6 specific focused areas, and these are the hardest questions in crypto regulation. It's about tokenization, crypto assets, 24/7 trading, perpetual contracts, prediction markets, blockchain infrastructure. So I'll tell you why this list matters. These aren't abstract questions. These are billion-dollar businesses waiting for regulatory clarity. So the leadership transition drama and the current situation with it is the acting chair, Caroline Pham, announced she has been a vocal innovation advocate, but her term is ending soon. And the incoming new chair from the President Trump committee on this innovation to be pushed forward has already been approved by Senate Agriculture Committee and awaits for full Senate vote. This incoming chair handled crypto assets at the SEC and considered a pragmatist concerning this topic. So here's what's really happening with this in transition. Caroline Pham is creating an institutionalized mechanism that will be very hard for her successor to dismantle. And when you get 12 CEOs from the CME group, NASDAQ, Kraken, and Polymarket combined to commit time and resources to this committee, you just can't shut it down when leadership changes. So the big question is, will this new chair embrace this, adjust it, or sideline it? That's the uncertainty hanging over this entire initiative. So what happens next? Wait for an announcement to action. And here's what we don't know yet. When is the first meeting? Will discussions be public or closed door? What form will the recommendations take? So some possible outcomes is non-binding industry white papers, legislative proposals submitted to Congress, which will then need further congressional action, pilot regulatory rules issued by CFTC for fastest path to actual change. Well, the bottom line here is we know what's just happened as far as this announcement today. But the CFTC stopped playing defense and went to offense, and they've invited the biggest names to traditional finance and crypto, including platforms they've even investigated, so they can all sit down and help write rules for the future. And this is going to signal regulatory clarity is coming. It's going to show the U.S. wants to lead and not follow. It creates a formal channel for industry input. The real uncertainties is new leadership and transition creates risk. Competing interests might prevent consensus. Timelines from dialogue to actual rules are unclear. This is the most significant regulatory development in U.S. crypto history since the Bitcoin ETF approvals. And this is my opinion. Whether it leads to actual change or becoming a talking point, we'll know within the next 6 to 12 months. But for now, the message is clear. The U.S. regulatory system is no longer trying to ignore crypto. It's trying to figure out how to integrate it properly. That's progress. It's real progress. If you want to stay on top of these regulatory developments as they unfold, make sure that you subscribe to Channel 1 Local. This is the kind of news that you like, that you enjoy, and that motivates you. We'll be talking about these types of topics off and on throughout our other episodes along the way. So for now, take care. See you in the next one.